from the South. Weekdays. Only.
We'll continue covering the live press conference from President Nicolás Maduro in Caracas. Let's go back to it.
For you to read it. If the National Assembly, if the Constituent National Assembly approved something like that, all the mass media in the world would say this is a coup from Maduro. But because it is approved by the extreme right in an assembly that is belligerent, well, then it is not criticized. It is truly unbelievable how they substitute the Constitution of the Republic, or how they attempt to derogate the Constitution of the Republic with a transition law. It is truly unbelievable how they just walk over Article 233 that they themselves call upon. This article forces them to call upon elections within 30 days, elections for president, and to execute them in 30 days. It is taxative. You can read it. I'm sure you can read it. Sure you've seen it a couple times. If this clown show of an alternative president was valid, then they should have called on elections already. The way I did in 2013 when I was the president in charge. I was the president in charge in 2013. And the first thing I did was call upon elections. It was my constitutional obligation. They say that it is not, that they're going to stay there, they're going to give themselves 12 months to do that, which is something that is absolutely unconstitutional, and they're going to consider that for 12 months to buy their time. So I would like to invite you all to do some research work, to do some diffusion and socialization on the scope and the reach of all these of the coups stated up by these statutes. It is very important. And secondly, so regarding the show of humanitarian aid, it has become a show in order to justify an intervention in this country. And it's also a cheap show to humiliate Venezuelans, to look over us, to put us down. So we are blockaded from $10 billion worldwide. We are blocked from commercial trades in oil, and then they pull out $20 million to tell the homeless to say, please put out your hands here, you have some crumbs. Look, Venezuela will not allow for that humanitarian aid show because we're not beggars. We will not beg anyone. We can work, we can produce in order to provide for 6 million homes like nowhere else in the world. We have the ability to provide education for our children, to give healthcare to our people, to provide housing, employment and social security to Venezuelan workers. Of course, we will maintain that capability. So, if there are problems in Venezuela, we will address them. We have problems, sure, but we do not have a humanitarian crisis. That is a fabrication from Washington, and for 4 years they want to have an intervention here in Venezuela. That's the file that will complete and will justify the intervention. That file is going to justify intervention as humanitarian aid. I say it again, we're not beggars. If you want to help Venezuela, release the blockade from the money that has been taken away from us. It is truly a perverse game. So, we will choke them, we don't let them breathe, and then we offer them crumbs. We take their money, and then we offer some toilet paper. The way Donald Trump threw it on the people of Puerto Rico. He took some toilet paper to the people of Puerto Rico, and they abandoned Puerto Rico. please take all that humanitarian aid and take it to Cúcuta. In Cúcuta, you have 70% poverty rate in Cúcuta, at the north of Santander. Almost 40% of...
Ha dicho el jefe de Estado detallando lo que ocurre con esa supuesta ayuda.
So as we know, President Nicolás Maduro is holding this press conference in Caracas. This comes amid of several events that are happening in Venezuela. The last one is that President Maduro is holding several events in the city to hold signatures from different people in the country that are demanding that the U.S. stop any intervention in the country. This also adds up to several events across the world. We had reports from people in South Africa, people in Colombia, in Argentina, that also had events to support Venezuela, to support the sovereignty of a nation. This comes, of course, after the lawmaker Juan Guaidó said that he was the president of Venezuela and began a whole series of events in Venezuela to destabilize the government of Nicolás Maduro. So if you're just joining us, we are waiting for President Nicolás Maduro to continue a press conference in Caracas with members of different media from Spain. We heard some questions from Spain, and he talked about the issue that's going on in Venezuela, where there are evidence of U.S. involvement, and from other countries as well, from Colombia and from different members that are trying to intervene in the matters of Venezuela. So also today, President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores were holding several events in the capital to show support for democracy. In several days before, we saw Maduro speaking to members of the armed forces. He met with several members across the country where they showed support not only for Nicolás Maduro as an elected president, but also for peaceful resolution of the conflict of the situation that is happening in Venezuela. As we remember, President Nicolás Maduro, he won the election in May 2018. He had 60%, more than 60% of the vote back then. This, as we also remember, was part of a dialogue, of an agreed decision that had between the government of Maduro and the opposition to hold elections. And these were held in May 2018, and in January, President Maduro took office. So, as we remember, President Maduro said on Friday that while he rejects the final declaration of this EU-backed international contact group, let's remember that this group was set up to analyze the situation in Venezuela, which was very much criticized because they were saying that it was an attempt to overthrow the government of Venezuela and to meddle in the internal affairs. So Maduro, of course, he said he's open to a delegation. He has said it before, that he's open to have a delegation by this group, this European Union-backed group, to promote peace talks. But let's go back to that press conference and listen to Maduro.
Has been acknowledged. So take that aid to the people in Cúcuta, who has 40% unemployment and 70% poverty rate, 30% of extreme poverty. And, you know, leave the show. Why won't they give that humanitarian aid to the people of Colombia? Why don't give them free employment and free health care and education, decent wages? We will fight back with our truth, whatever they say. Whatever they say, we will stand with our truth. And the truth of Venezuela will prevail above anything else. So your third question on what we call the dripping effect. Well, whoever wants to leave, leave. It makes us more free. If you want to leave, leave. Whoever wants to leave because they are not convinced, well then leave. Next question. So the third question is done by TAS and from Russia, Vladimir Kostyrev. Hello, Mr. President Maduro.
Противники правительства попытаются провести гуманитарную помощь в страну с территории других стран без разрешения правительства, как вы будете действовать? Gracias.
Thank you. So, what would be your government's actions if there was an attempt to take that humanitarian aid towards this country without your permission? Well, what we have done until now, the legal action. Everything legally. So Venezuela permanently imports goods through its land borders and maritime borders, a considerable amount of products of all types. So raw materials, consumer goods, a good part of the market that we take into our 6 million home, they come from abroad, of course. That means that we make investment, an annual investment that goes beyond $10 or $12 billion for medication, medical supplies, etc. And we do that, and we will not allow our sovereignty to be violated. It is very simple. We will take legal action and correct action. The fourth question is done by radio television NBC from the United States. Carrie Sanders.
Venezuela has had its socialist revolution for 20 years now. Why do you believe that now President Trump and the United States wants you gone, especially when oil is so cheap? And
Primera pregunta, señor presidente.
So the first question, Mr. President. You have had a socialist revolution in Venezuela for the past 20 years. Why do you believe that Mr. Trump wishes to take these actions against your country in a moment where oil is so cheap?
And why won't you let the gift of medicine and food from the United States in? The people of Venezuela need it, don't they?
Mi siguiente pregunta, presidente.
And the next question. Why won't you let that gift, that present in the form of food and medication, come to the people of Venezuela? Because they need it.
No. Quiero decir, ¿la necesita su país este regalo?
That is, does your country, as in the tone of the question is, does your country really need this help? That is medication and food. We have to see beyond, you know, from the character, from this caricature that you want to, they want to show. They want to show the caricature of a country in a humanitarian crisis. They want to show the caricature of a dictatorship, and they want to make this narrative of the United States extending their hand to help people in need. That's the script. But the truth is that we have a country that is fighting, that is working, and that is fulfilling its own needs. We have a legitimate government. They're backed up by popular election and an insistent, thriving democracy. The truth is that it is no help to us. It is a message in order to plan to humiliate us. If they wanted to help us, they should stop all economic sanctions and financial persecution. They should stop with the sanctions, which takes around $10 billion from us. Just financially speaking, numbers we would have to compare $20 million versus $10 billion. With those $10 billion, I can guarantee that we could fully supply anything that the people of Venezuela might need without begging to anyone. A country is not, you cannot feed a country with crumbs and begging, and we say that with a full sense of dignity. We say it while we swim against the current because the current is imposed, and the narrative and everywhere else is that Maduro is refusing the gift, and again, that is no gift. that is a package with a trap that is filled with poison. Sure, it's pretty on the outside, it's humanitarian aid, but within, it brings the poison of humiliation. And it tries to cover up with the greatest crime of all, which is the crime of stealing our wealth and stealing our resources via the economic sanctions and the blockade. So stop the blockade, stop the financial persecutions, stop with the sanctions, and leave Venezuela be. That is our petition. It is that simple. That is no gift. They're not giving us anything. They are stealing from us. It is a theft of our wealth. And the other question, it doesn't matter what the price of oil does not matter. Oil is oil, gold is gold. That is the great wealth. That is the great power supply of the world. If not, the United States would not have gone to Iraq. Or did they go to Iraq to help the people of Iraq? Today, do the people in Iraq live better? 1 million dead after the war. Who pays for that? If not, the United States wouldn't have gone into Libya. We have more safety here in Libya. Do we have more safety in Libya? Is Africa more secure? Did you save the Libyan people? No, they destroyed Syria, they destroyed Libya. Afghanistan. How's Afghanistan doing after 20 years of military interventions from the United States? Is that another gift? How many gifts were sent in the form of bombs to Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, and Iraq? How many presents in the form of bombs? Is that the humanitarian aid? That's the true face of an empire that must disappear from the face of the earth. The American empire must come to an end. And that a great nation should rise from the United States with their culture, with their people. We love the American people. And we believe that from the depths of the history of the people in America, one day there will be a great nation that respects the rest of the world. Our battle is for Venezuela and also for the future of humanity, of mankind in this century, and we will win it. It doesn't matter what the cost of oil is. It's ours, and no one's going to take it from us. Not 1,000 Donald Trumps will take that from us. The fifth question will be done by the New York Times, Ana Herrero.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Son varias preguntas.
So I have several questions. Actually, the first one. Juan Guaidó was supposedly granted access. Yes, Ana Herrero.
Supposedly,
Juan Guaidó was granted access to accounts related to the state funds in the United States. I would like to know if you still have access to your funds abroad. That would be my first question. And regarding the topic of wealth that you mentioned, I would like to make a little more clear, like regarding the topic of gold. I would like to know, where is the gold going to that is leaving from the Arco Minero here in Venezuela? And are you planning to make this more transparent regarding the topic of contracts? Because Arco Minero has been criticized heavily. And the other one is, so before the oil sanctions, if you have a plan B, how will you act around the oil sanctions? For example, a restructuring of PDVSA has then been considered, has it been discussed, a new directive board? How is that progressing with the topic of oil? And then to end, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo claims to have proof of active cells of Hezbollah in Venezuela. These are not the first accusations on the matter, not only on Hezbollah, but also with FARC. I would like to ask you if you have any knowledge on the matter, and if maybe there's some information they can provide for us, or if you have indeed identified cells of Hezbollah here. And also, please excuse me, we wanted to offer you an interview. We had an interview to you, but we are fully open to see if perhaps, if maybe our paper could have an interview.
sin duda.
All right, but you put everything I say, right? Yes, all right, you've said it a couple times. Sure, we can sign a contract. Yes, and in the world media, there are a lot of things that I say and that they don't publish them. I mean, I guess it is their right, you know? Oh, fine. I agree to provide all interviews that, as many as I can. So regarding the declarations of Mr. Pompeo is a spearhead. He is a spearhead against the aggression of Venezuela since he was a director in the CIA. He has never taken his eye off Venezuela, and as a Secretary of State, he lives making machinations on how to harm us. That is imperial and interventionist diplomacy, which should come to an end. You cannot consider yourself the world police and call upon the governments of other countries and command them and give them orders. So Pompeo, very simply, just pulls out an old trick from the media campaign against Venezuela. Do you know what Hezbollah is? Hezbollah is a political party, a legal political party from Lebanon. Hezbollah, firstly, is a political party with ministers, with Congress people, and with elected authorities. Because they keep saying Hezbollah, that they are a political party that is part of in a country that has representation in the United Nations. We have never had any relations with the political party of Hezbollah. In Venezuela, we have many people from Lebanon. Welcome here. We welcome Palestine, Syrians and Lebanese communities here. And I will continue to pluck out lies that have been debunked time and time again when you undergo these campaigns against the country. So the Lebanese people in Venezuela have a political freedom of thought. And Venezuela, in order to defend itself, does not need cells from anyone in the world. We can defend ourselves with our words, with our actions, with the capability that we have as Venezuelans to defend ourselves. It is that simple. So we really have to change. We really have to switch up that chip, this old rhetoric, this old form of thought of the topic of Hezbollah in Venezuela. In the same way with FARC, I mean, what are they? FARC is a legal political party in Colombia. Sure, we have relations with FARC, with the legal political party, which was a product of the peace process in Colombia. FARC are not a guerrilla anymore, thanks to the efforts made from Venezuela and Cuba, and with the support of many countries, they signed a peace treaty, and now FARC has their leaders in public legal activities. And that again is an old rhetoric that really should be removed from our discourse. Venezuela is a peaceful country. We're anti-terrorism. We're against terrorism in any way. State terrorism, like the one done in the United States, and Iraq, and Libya, and Syria, and Afghanistan, or terrorism of any label and of any form. We are completely anti-terrorists. We are a peaceful country. We are constitutionalists, humanists. That is what Bolivarians are. We have always been so, and we will continue to be. The arms of the Republic and the power, and the firepower, is in the hands of the Bolivarian Revolution, and it will only be used to defend our territory and peace. Very simple. It is an institutionalized country, a democratic country, a strong country. Regarding the access to the accounts, well, we are fighting for the defense of our accounts and the wealth that we have in our and the stock that we have abroad, and it's a very difficult battle. Also, on those accounts is the gaze of greed, of political ambition to steal those resources from us. I could tell you that we are Well, in the midst of a battle, when we have positive results, I will let the country know those resources belong to the people. These resources can be turned into housing, into healthcare, into food, into employment and development, and they belong to the people. So, regarding gold, we have a sustainable model for mining. It's not the point of this press conference. We could have a separate press conference for that. That would be, that goes very well. So far, it has been done. It's going very well. We're going to triple the production of gold in this first half of the year. And Venezuela, of course, has those same rights as any international country in an international setting. If we produce potatoes, we can export them. Why should they regulate that? Why should I have to say that my potatoes go to this port and take boat number and then take it to another one? Again, Venezuelan gold is produced and we sell it at a fair price in international markets. We have more buyers than we can manage for the buyers, and we're going to triple the production. That's good news for Venezuela. So regarding oil, we have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, all the way to Z. Alpha and Omega. All plans, because we will not be blockaded. They were not going to block our oil industry. And I call upon the workers, the working men and women of the oil industry to uphold their dignity. And sure, I mean, the conditions become difficult, but we're good for our difficulties. Our oil industry will thrive in spite of all the aggression. And there is enough oil markets in the world for the oil produced in Venezuela, and well, I would really hope, I'm personally devoted to make 1 million more barrels for the world oil market, which means wealth and income for our countries. So Venezuela will not be stopped. This will be a good economic year, a very good year for Venezuela. In spite of all the difficulties, this will be a year full of work, full of efforts, but those efforts will yield benefits. So the sixth and last question for today is done by Rai Uno from Italy. Our colleague Maria Lucrecio. Good afternoon, President. Hello, excuse me. So just 6 questions, 2 more. Go ahead. Mr. President, you have received a response from the Pope. If there are no presidential elections, what will be the solution? How can you make your way out of this crisis? What will happen next week? Is that it? So, the Pope gave a press conference a couple days ago, and I do hope that the letter I sent to him has found its way to his hands, and we hope so. So, the Pope has to govern the church worldwide. I'm sure he wants to help the Venezuelan people. However, we have to be patient. We have to await his response in order to, well, considering this proposal of, easing this agreement among Venezuelans and all the process of dialogues that are taking place outside our borders. So we must be patient and ask and pray to God. We hope that the response is enlightened and favorable. What will happen in the next week? Well, Venezuela will continue with its policy of peace and tranquility. We will continue to fight. I will continue to govern this country. The country will continue to work, continue to study, and we will continue to condemn and denounce this policy, this international front of aggression and interventionism. That is what will happen in the following weeks. Battle after battle after battle. for the Venezuelan truth, and I am pretty sure that we will gain our space, we will further our truth. There will be no coup here. The truth will come out, and under no circumstance, I said it back in January 23rd, in Venezuela, we will uphold the Constitution, the people's will and their sovereignty. I ratify it today, on February the 8th. In Venezuela, we will have constitutionality and peace, and we will open the space, a space so that in 2019 we can achieve the great goals of economic growth and recuperation. That's where we have to emphasize. Not allow us to be distracted and emphasize where we need it. The creation of wealth, the expansion of our economy, and the furthering the development of our economy so that our social model of inclusion and shared benefits can be expanded and consolidated. And that Venezuela, in the political front, in this same year, we can have the possibility of anticipating our elections for the parliament. These are the elections that will help the country to become more stable, to overcome these difficulties. The seventh question will be done by Fox News by Carla Zabulovsky. I'm sorry, I didn't listen well.
News de Estados Unidos.
Stick News.
Buenas tardes. Son
Hello.
dos preguntas.
I have two questions. So the first one would be, what would be your government's response if you had American troops in the Colombian border? And the second is have any neighborhoods, any Chavista groups joined your movement? So why would you say that happened? So I've seen the incorporation into the great marches that we've had. I don't know if you have eyes for that, but the great marches that have taken place in Valencia, in San Juan de los Morros, in Maracay, in Maracaibo, in Cabima. I witnessed many marches in those neighborhoods in February the 2nd, where over 500,000 people went out to Avenida Bolívar. That I saw with my own eyes. I hope you have eyes to transmit that as well, because the mass media in the United States and in the world, all I see is pictures, very well staged pictures for the opposition. So you should let them know of the other truth. So, this is what happened in Yaracuy and Vargas. Our technicians are pretty active. In La Guaira, that's the invisible people. I call these people the invisible people. We are invisible to you. So you make your questions based on a script, the script that we already had 2 weeks prior. You know. Because that's what they wanted to expose, you know, that the Chavista people are in the streets, that everyone is rising up against Maduro. And then what? Who's going to govern this country? How are they going to govern it? And of course, we don't exist, and that we will disappear. That script is just not viable. It's not doable. The question from that script is simply not. It can't be answered. I mean, we have a people. We have won 23 out of 25 elections. When we snap our fingers, we mobilize thousands of people and all the people in many cities. We have real support, real powers. We have 2 million signatures in 24 hours, and I'm sure we're going to get to 10 million signatures. We go beyond Chavismo, being Chavista or not. We want to go towards a Venezuela that works for peace. I am here not because I staged a coup. I am here standing before you in this palace because we are real. Humbly real. I don't come from the halls of the aristocracy. I was not educated at the Escuela de las Américas. My school were the workshops beside the Caracas subway stations and in the neighborhoods of Caracas, and the low neighborhoods of Caracas. I was there doing sports, making movies, theater, working with the people. I come from there. You're not going to tell me what is happening in my neighborhood. That a small group of petty thieves were contracted. You know that they were paid $100 to make violence every day. All of them are in jail, and whoever goes out to make violence, well, we'll use our mechanism of justice. That's an old script. They wanted to impose a narrative in the world. Tens of protests, tens of marches, and Maduro falls, and what people actually want is peace. And we will have peace in this country. If American troops come to Colombia, well, they can stay in Colombia. That's not our problem. They can bring 1 million soldiers into Colombia. And I guess we're going to have to take care of the Colombian women and girls. You can bring 2 million soldiers, 2 million tanks in Colombia. Let them stay in Colombia. Calm and sanity. That's not our problem. We all are not going to fall into provocations or adventures of any type. We are in a peaceful country. From February 10th to 15th, we're going to have our military drills to build up our missile system and our artillery, as well as our anti-aerial defense system, our tanks, our soldiers, our territorial control, because we are a peaceful country. We do not train our troops to go and occupy other countries. We do not train our armies to go occupy other nations and to invade other nations. We train our soldiers to defend our country, to have peace with territorial integrity and with sovereignty. So the eighth and last question for today is done by the agency of Bloomberg in the United States, colleague Alex Vasquez. Yes, good afternoon, President. I just wanted to ask about Citgo. So the Minister of Oil, Minister Quevedo, has insisted that he will do everything to defend Citgo. So the opposition insists that you will name a new directive of Citgo. I just wanted to know if you have advanced in the legal framework and what actions have you taken. And you said you've taken Plan B against Plan C. I just wanted to ask if you have contacted the Chinese, because they're one of the few nations who can still process heavy oil. And also, you have also affirmed that the JP Morgan and indexes and the value of PDVSA. Is there any anxiety regarding the value of the stocks of PDVSA? Thank you very much.
We have a negotiation team that is going along with the advances in spite of all the pressures and undue pressures that have been made from the Treasury Department in the United States. And we have the preparation, and our team has the qualification preparations to carry out these processes directly with those that have the bonds of the country. They have to be, they always have, they want that their country prosper economically. That is our main messages that we transmit. Regarding Venezuelan oil, we will always find a market. We will always have options. Always. Rest assured. There's a very small proposal that some Venezuelans are making so that the oil be stuck here, be kept inside. It's a criminal and useless proposal. I cannot understand the mind of such a Venezuelan that that is hoping, praying, and it's wanting that Venezuela does not want to sell the oil. I cannot understand the type of mentality. If they live here, I don't understand them. If some that live in Miami, in Colombia, they don't love their country. They have become they're wanderers. They don't have a country, and what they hope is only the bad things happen to Venezuela. The economic and social impacts of a total blockade against our oil rigs, our oil ships, would be catastrophic. And I would call the people to fight. And I am sure the people will answer with passion and love and with decision. They would answer directly. But it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But sometimes I'd like to put examples that are teaching or teaching examples. Why are they doing this against Venezuela? Why so much evil, so many attacks, so many conspiracies, so many intrigues? Why? Political power? What is it? The political power is to destroy the country, invade the country, so that the oil is kept here and it cannot leave and cannot be useful. What about the political power? What happens afterwards? What's going to happen to us after they have all the political power? Do you think we're going to surrender? Do you think that people are going to surrender? And then they will have to face the people, the Chavistas. You will see them. You have seen them through the history that we have to live for this 20, 30 years of struggle. It's completely insensitive and completely ridiculous to have coming from the extremists that want to take over the power in the White House. Extremists of crazy madmen that apply pressure and more pressure to the fifth column in their country. That's why I'm always saying, calling on Venezuelans and appeal to their goodwill and their union, to the goodwill of all the people, so this country can prosper with effort and with prosperity. Would work. Nothing and no one will hold us back. Nobody will barricade the coast of Venezuela, and the oil will not be kept in the country. And the plans are pretty sharp, so that the cargoes, the oil rigs will reach port. Regarding your other question, we're in legal actions at the moment. All the persons, anybody has accept illegal, that has legal offices in PDVSA or Citgo will be processed under the full strength of the law. Either today, tomorrow, all people, everybody will have to come under the legal scrutiny of the country, and with all the authority that we have to examine those offices, and we will fight for Citgo. And I can say, and I can tell you one more thing. I cannot understand that someone who considers themselves Venezuelans, men, women, who has been born in this country, that they are they're so treacherous that they would hope that it would sell Citgo to the United States. I cannot understand it. Citgo is a national company. Citgo belongs to the Venezuelan nation. And it's an unfair and illegal action trying to steal our resources and riches that Citgo represents for Venezuela, especially for the future generations. I cannot understand it. I am making a huge effort trying to understand this mentality, which has become so corrupted that they think that if they hurt their country, they will have political power. Enough, no more damage. So this is how we will end this international press conference, and I continue calling the opposition, political opposition, to call and appeal to their rationality. We need to be sensible. They need to step forward and to stop hurting the country. I appeal to them, to all the assemblies, to the deputies. I make this appeal: stop hurting the country. You are in the wrong side of the history. You are making a serious mistake against the country, against yourselves. You're in a no way out. So step out of that trap and stop hurting the country. Venezuela deserves more. Venezuela deserves the love and affection and the goodwill of those that love her. So I ask in this international press conference, so to everybody who has anybody, I just want more equilibrium, more balance for Venezuela. That is what I'm calling for. And those that are invisible, the most invisible of them all, I hope that I will come forth in your imagination, and I make myself present in your information that you give out. Welcome and
harm in the country. That's what Maduro said. We will have peace in Venezuela, calm and serenity. We are a peaceful country. That was Maduro during a press conference with representatives of international media. He also supported talks that were held yesterday in Montevideo, Uruguay, to seek a peaceful and non-interventionist way to ease the political tensions in the country. He also said the EU contact group is welcome to the country, despite the fact that they want to attack his government. For more on this, as you know, you can check our website, telesurenglish.net.
Han pasado casi